children. It puts them at risk for violence because of vacant structures that they're going past to and from, and it's the perfect place for a predator to dwell. Imagine the impact it has when you're walking past destruction every single day in your neighborhood, and what that says to you as a child about your worth and the worth of your community when nobody's doing anything about it.
I think it negatively impacts your lives because I think you are a part of your environment. And if you come outside your environment and all you're seeing is a bunch of trees and bushes and garbage, it's depressing.
Blight and the psychology of a neighborhood are intertwined. Blight is ugly. Blight creates the perception that nobody cares. Blight creates the perception that there's no value. And that affects us most especially the people living amidst all that blight. And because value is so related to perception and a desire to reinvest is so related to that perception, it ends up having a debilitating effect on an entire neighborhood. And it's all related really to the psychology of people who live and try to do business.
I mean, think about it. Anything that you have to be close to that's not healthy affects your psyche, right? Young people who go to school, for instance, in that community, who walk past abandoned homes and burned out houses and overgrowth where there might be possums and raccoons and dogs and vermin, you begin to actually think that that's normal, that that's okay. And then you go somewhere else to visit maybe, and you start saying, well, wait a minute, why does where I live look like this, and why does where they live look like that? And what's the difference and why? It affects your psyche, it affects your sense of self-worth, it affects your self-esteem. It certainly affects your housing values, and it just doesn't make you feel good.
The blight narrative just really pisses me off. I mean, that's so one man's blight is another man's life, right? You know, and that's one of those things. It's just like where do you define blight?
The more the blight, the less the activity, the fewer the people. The fewer the people, the higher the crime, and the less safety. The reverse of that is that clearing the blight makes people feel better. And when people feel better, they want to invest. They want to come outside. They want to generate activity in the neighborhood. And that, in turn, can have a positive impact on perception and reality of safety. So we tend to underestimate the implications and the power of blight and blight fighting.
That's great that John Hance wants to take care of blight, but the problem with the word blight is typically I equate blight with black. You know, that's the way that things seem to happen. You know, a lot of the pieces of the city that they're removing are pieces that the black community has been engaged with. A lot of the structures of democracy that have been removed are black power structure ideas that may be very different from the uber capitalist, you know, way of thinking that is presented now, but we're very powerful in protecting the community here. And that's one of the things that I get to experience when I go into planning and development and try to get something done is, you know, there is a power structure existent within City Hall that respects the black power structure that was here for decades. And there's a new power structure that's moving into that space that's trying to weed out a lot of it so that things can become streamlined. The reason why those structures existed in City Hall was to protect community, because the folks here were looking out for their brothers and sisters, and they were setting up systems to protect them, to make sure that they weren't doing things like kicking people out, to make sure that they weren't moving them down. That's what that corruption was about community. And the white power structure, in order to break that, has had to break all of these laws, go completely unconstitutional with emergency management, and make all these deals with billionaires giving away shit so that they can move people on. I mean, that's why blight pisses me off.
I've been in this neighborhood like all my life. My mom been right here like 48 years. I've been living on this street, 53 years. Yeah, this street right here. I never moved off the street. I moved down the street, we lived down the street, but we moved here. This house is on sale. They were supposed to be buying projects over here and building, certain stuff, and it was buying up the home. So we moved here. My mom bought this house. Ever since, I've been right here, man. Ain't been nowhere. We had a corner, had a bar down here, got a store down here. We had a bakery right here. food hall, probably all kind of, activities going on in right here at the police station way down there, but police station just right here, we have to go that far. So I'm saying, and they had a great big old supermarket called the A&P. It was right there, just like the Food Express over there. That's one they called the A&P. That burned down in, 67 riot.
On July 23rd, 1967, Detroit was hit by a riot. We said it couldn't happen, but it did, and the nation was shocked. This is the story of that riot, which left 43 dead, thousands injured, and the city in flames.
I remember as a kid, like it was yesterday, my mom was working, my dad was working, a neighbor came in telling me to close up all the curtains and everything, don't come out of the house, that it was a riot. And I remember, what is a riot, and my mom made it home from work, and then as you looked at television, you heard what was going on. I mean, it was right here in the neighborhood. And to hear gunshots all night long, and to see people on top of the roof shooting at police officers, shooting at fire trucks, and seeing, Mack Avenue burn down.
Fighting one war now is Vietnam, we will lose. So, why should we come back here and fight a war among ourselves?
People looting and all of that, that was the worst that I've ever seen. Soldiers right on the corner of Mack as a kid, that was the worst.
That was home, wasn't it?
Yes, first night home.
Then the aftermath, everything, that they seemed to be arguing or promoting, you tore up your own neighborhood. And to this day, the people in the neighborhood are still paying for what happened in the riot because it was never rebuilt. They burned down their own stores, burned down everything that we had right on Mack Avenue, and over the years, it was never built back up. So it's like, you sit in your own mess that you created.
It was empty, not